Hey guys, thanks for joining us and welcome to Eat More Football, the show that satisfies your craving for hot takes. Today, we're letting you in on the ground floor of the newest football show in the nation. We're really excited you're here with us today. As you can tell, it's a very humble beginning, but we're excited about our vision to grow this thing, and we could not do it without you, so thank you. Over the course of the year, we're going to have some engaging content and innovative segments that we cannot wait to share with you. We also plan on having guests from week to week. In fact, we've already locked in several coaches all the way from the SEC to the NFL. We'll also feature some of the most important players in the game, all you armchair quarterbacks out there. Speaking of armchair quarterbacks, that leads me to the topic of one of our sponsors. This show is sponsored by the Top 20, and we will certainly be talking Top 20 every week. Well, strap it up because here we go. All right, so let's get to our intros of who these people are on your screen right now.
Hey everyone, I am TJ T-Bone Schissel. I'm a junior in high school. That is my uncle down there, and that's my best friend Noah, which he'll introduce himself later. But I've been a Gator fan for 4 years. But I was born into that culture. My mom's side of the family are all Florida fans for the most part, but my dad actually went to FSU, which that's a struggle, but it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to do this podcast, show, whatever you want to call it. It's to each his own, but it's going to be a really great time, and no matter who you root for, hopefully it will be as unbiased as possible. But yeah, it should be really fun.
All right. I'm Noah. I'm a junior in high school. I go to same school as TJ there. And yeah, I've been an Alabama fan pretty much since Derrick Henry's Heisman season. But like one of the oldest memories of football I have is when 2013 Iron Bowl, Auburn has the kick six, magical season, and my dad picked up his phone, threw it across the room to the couch, and that's when I was like, okay, football really means something, I guess. So.
Yeah, it means a lot to those people in Tuscaloosa and those Alabama fans, doesn't it?
A little bit.
All right, so I'm Craig Candido, Coach C, as I'll be called on this show, hopefully. Got a long history. I have a few more trips around the sun than these two, but we're all in this together. It's going to be fun. But played football at Navy, originally from Central Florida, played football at Navy and baseball. Went on to be a pilot for a few years and then got into college coaching. I think it was 11, 12 seasons, and then got out a few years ago. So a lot of moves, a lot of travels, a lot of great experiences, and always had a passion for college football. From the day that I started playing it. And I think this show is going to be a lot of fun for us. So we're excited. The next thing we will talk about is kind of where our show is going to go today. Hopefully over the next coming weeks, we'll have a lot of different segments, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of hot takes, probably a lot of bad takes that'll probably be proven to be wrong in the future, and maybe some really good ones, but we're going to lay it all out there and let you know how we feel about things. But today, we're going to let you in on why and how this Eat More Football show started. Sometimes we'll refer to it as EMF. But from my perspective, it was TJ actually put us in a group chat, myself and Natty, and we started talking. What was your intention on that, TJ?
I mean, just to get the three of us together, because I know Noah has been a Bama fan forever. We talk football all the time, and then you and I, we actually just recently, like over the past couple of years, got really close and started actually talking a bunch of football stuff. But that's, when I got really, really deep into NCAA stuff, was just really the past 2 or 3 years. So I just wanted to kind of bridge the gap and be like, hey, this is Noah. He's my best friend. This is Craig, like my uncle. So it's like, kind of bridge the gap and hopefully talk some good shop with you guys. And then it kind of blossomed. And in a month, surprisingly, only a month. It just took off, and now we're here starting a unofficial show. So
yeah. And so we were texting, and we periodically get these texts about a graphic that says who's the best fan base, who's got the whatever, and so we start talking about that on text. And then I knew that these two guys like a specific podcast guy, and so I made a joke about, hey, he's got the worst takes, and they started crying about it. Not really, but and then that's when it led me
after Josh Pate like that.
Not a sponsor. Josh Pate, not a sponsor.
He needs to be. He needs
to be. We got to get him on.
We're gonna get him on the show
eventually.
We can get him on eventually.
All right. But then it was like, hey, you love this guy, you love talking ball, you love listening to him. We like talking ball. Let's do our own thing and see where it goes. So I know at the very least we're all going to get a lot of enjoyment out of this, and we already have, honestly. So so that was July 31st. I think we said, hey, let's do this thing, and we were getting the logo together, getting all kinds of things together, and then now here we are 2 weeks later. So that's how Eat More Football was born. Now what we're going to do is going to be the meat part of our show, and that's get into the SEC projections, because we know that league is the toughest league from year to year. You can argue other things, that there's other leagues that are, but if you look at the national champions from the last several years, the SEC is one of the top leagues in the nation. So we're going to start there for you guys, because we know a lot of y'all have interest in there. So I think TJ, you're going to take it away for the start here.
Yeah, sure. So what we're going to do, we're all going to start with the East. We'll go me, and then we can do Coach C, and then Natty can be last. Just a background on the nickname stuff. So Coach C, obviously, because, coaching career and everything, but me, T-Bone, because I play trombone and, music stuff. I'm looking into doing that as a career. Yay, whoopee, no money. But so that's my thing. And then Natty, because, Alabama, and
all his Alabama stuff. I mean,
yeah, it's
no, he does have one that's not like a championship team in there. So,
and never will be. And most likely never will be.
But you can actually say that about my mug. You can't say that about my mug. So
I have Jag stuff on this side, but
you're hiding it. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Anyway, so we'll go through the East, and then we'll go back and do the West after that. So in the East, UF, I started with UF. I'm going alphabetically according to the Athlon, not a sponsor, magazine. I projected UF at 8-4 with losses to Utah at home. It's going to be a close game. Utah's only favored by 2.5. It's at night. That's going to be a toxic environment for Utah. Season opener, which is crazy to think that. We actually have a few deals lined up where we're going to go to Utah in a couple of years, which now I have to actually watch Pac-12 football, which is not ideal, but and then September 10th, I really think we could win against Kentucky. But I didn't want to predict us at 9-3 because I really don't. That's like best case scenario, 9-3. So I really can see us losing to Kentucky. Even though I don't think Kentucky will be a better team than last year. I think Florida could, get the edge, but I think it might end up being a loss. And then I skipped all the way down to like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, week 8 versus Georgia in Jacksonville. I mean, there's not much to be said about that. There's almost always a good fight. But as of late, it's not looking too good. And I don't expect much regressing from Georgia from last year. And then loss at Texas A&M the next week. I really, last time we played Texas A&M in 2020, that didn't, go too well. It was close. But as we know, Dan Mullen blamed our loss on the amount of people at the stadium. So thank you very much. So I think it could still, end up being a loss. But I really do, see the possibility of us playing a lot of close games. So that is my prediction for UF, 8-4. Not a whole lot to say for Georgia. I have them going 12-0 with a loss in the SEC championship to Alabama. I think they're going to have a great defense, an improved offense. I think Brock Bowers at tight end, phenomenal tight end. The next Kyle Pitts. I mean, he's phenomenal. I think they're going to have a lot of, they have a lot of great talent, but I don't think they can do a repeat season of last year. And continuing on alphabetically, Kentucky, I have them going 8-4 as well, with losses to Ole Miss, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia. They don't have too hard of a schedule, other than all the SEC play. But even still, I mean, they got Vanderbilt, Missouri, Louisville from the ACC, Mississippi State, which I can see Mississippi State possibly pulling an upset. But, it's Kentucky. They've been...
The Pirates always good for an upset.
Yeah.
Pirate.
Yeah, Mike Leach. Interesting guy. And then going to Missouri, I have them at 5-7. I don't expect much from Eli Drinkwitz. I have them losing to Auburn, and then Georgia, and then at Florida, at South Carolina, Kentucky, and at Tennessee, and also Arkansas. So pretty much losing almost, I guess I do have, almost every SEC game. The only SEC game I have them winning is Vanderbilt, which I don't think, it's Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt didn't win any games in the SEC last year, so
yeah,
I'm with you there.
I mean, Florida went 4 and something, 4-4 in the SEC. I think it was less. Maybe it was
2-6 last year.
2-6.
2-6.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah, that's not Florida.
Yeah, no, it's not. Continuing to South Carolina, I have them going 6-6 with losses to Arkansas, Georgia, Texas A&M, Florida, Tennessee, and Clemson. That last 3-game stretch of the season is going to be hard. They come off with a theoretical win at Vanderbilt, but then they go to Florida, and then they stay at home with Tennessee, and then go to Clemson. So, I mean, I can see all 3 of those being losses. But I do think it has the possibility. I think South Carolina has the possibility to be a really improved team from last year. And I think Shane Beamer can do some really great things. I'm not sure where they are in recruiting. We'll touch on that a little bit later in the show. Not South Carolina, but we'll touch on recruiting in general. They're actually number 19 in the nation right now with 7 4-stars and 10 3-stars, which isn't awful.
Yeah.
But they haven't really been, they haven't been in the limelight.
Well, they have 7 starters back on offense and 7 back on defense next year. So I think he's got a lot to build on. He's got a lot of momentum.
For sure. Continuing on with Tennessee, I got them at 9-3. I think they're going to be a much improved team from last year. They went 7-6, 4-4 in the SEC. There are a lot of games here that, I'm not too big of a Heupel fan. I haven't been on the Heupel hype, but, they're going to be a really improved team. I mean, at Pitt, I think that's going to be a win. Akron, easy win. Florida, I think we're going to beat Tennessee. I mean, people don't say that we're going to, but I think we got it. And then a win at LSU, lost to Bama, and then lost to Georgia, which those aren't too unexpected. So 9-3. I think it's going to be a really improved team. And I think that is last in the East, right?
That is it. Yep.
That is it. All right. We will move on.
Obviously Vandy, but you forgot Vandy, and so did
Yeah.
everybody else probably. So
Yeah, everyone
Well-
already forgot Vandy.
sorry, Vandy.
I guess so. I forgot they were in the East actually because I don't care. But sorry, any Vanderbilt fans that we might have watching. I got them going 3-9. That's all I'll say. All right, we'll turn it over to Coach C.
All right. So in the East, I'll kind of go in the same order that you went in just for continuity. So starting off with the Gators, I had them at 8-4 as well, 4-4 in the SEC. I actually had them beating Utah. I think we've talked about this before. I think it's going to be Florida is going to be so hyped. They're going to be coming right out of camp. Utah is a very, very good football team. Don't get me wrong. But I think emotion and being at the Swamp at night, right? So I think that's going to be the difference in the game. I think the line right now is like 2.5 or 3. You typically get that for just being a home. So it's pretty much even. But I think Florida will come out of the gate swinging with the new coach, with Coach Napier. I'm just going to talk, when I talk, just some highlighted wins and losses. I think they'll beat South Carolina, which will be a nice win for them because I think South Carolina will be much improved. Not that their record really will show it for me, but they will be better. And I have them losing at Tennessee. I have them losing to LSU, Georgia, and Texas A&M at Texas A&M. So, but my overall rankings, they're going to be shooting up the SEC East leaderboard compared to where they were this past year. So a much better season. I mean, their defense has a lot of question marks still. Obviously, their new coordinator, 26.8 points per game, 11th in the SEC last year. The rush D was bad. Their pass D was good. They lost a lot of guys in the secondary. A few guys, I should say. Elam, some of those guys that'll be missed dearly. And then the quarterback. Who's going to be the quarterback? Is it Anthony Richardson? Is it the transfer from Ohio State? But knowing that Billy Napier is going to be coaching the quarterbacks and calling plays, I think he's going to have a good handle on that. They have lots of guys back from last year too. So the discipline is going to be the difference, I think, this year for Florida.
For sure.
They're going to be less penalties. They're going to play a more disciplined brand of football. They've got enough talent to improve from last year. Then we're going to Georgia. Obviously a phenomenal football team last year. Lost a ton of guys on defense. They're going to retool like a good SEC team will, but I don't see them going undefeated in the SEC this year. I see them losing at Mississippi State to the Pirate November 12th. They go.
Wow.
The Bulldogs are just going nuts, and Georgia. It's late in the year. Georgia's got maybe some injuries. Stetson Bennett plays one of his games where he tries to give the ball away every time, and Mississippi State keeps it away from him, scores some points, throwing that ball, and tires out the defense. So that's one of my hot takes.
That is a hot take.
But I got them at 11-1, 7-1 in the SEC. So still going to win the East to me. But I don't think they're going to do it without a loss in the SEC. Amazing fact. I saw where since 2017, Georgia is 27-2 against SEC opponents. That's good in itself, right? They've only had one win that was within one score. They average beating opponents by 32 plus points.
Wow.
He said credit to Georgia, but also how poor the SEC East has been.
Yeah.
All right, Kentucky. I'm not completely sold on Kentucky, but I've got to give Mark Stoops props with what he's done with that program. It is somewhat a football school, despite what John Calipari says. They've done a great job. I got them at 9-3. I got losses to Florida, Ole Miss, and Georgia, and then a win against Tennessee and South Carolina. 5-3 in the SEC. Quarterback is back, who's a pretty good player. Lost their OC to the NFL, I think, so they'll have to make an adjustment there. But I think Mark Stoops has done a great job with that culture, and they'll be back in the mix again in the East. Then we head to Mizzou. Again, Drinkwitz has spent a lot of time talking about other things than football. He's calling out Tennessee for their recruiting violations and making jokes about that. So I think he's going to be a marked man if he wasn't already. I see them going 5-7, 2-6 in the SEC.
Darth Vader.
Vader, yeah. Yeah, so he needs to win some SEC games before he runs his mouth a little bit more, in my opinion. Then we go to South Carolina. Shane Beamer, you talked about him. I'm impressed with what he's doing besides the dances that he does on Twitter and TikTok and all that. But he's recruiting hard. I got them 7-5, 4-4. So a pretty good year, basically an 1-win improvement over last year, which I think is probably a normal trajectory for them. And then to Tennessee, um, I, good offense, right? Poor defense is how I look at Tennessee. Two strong offensive and defensive coordinators. I know that who they are. They're very good at what they do. So hopefully that's going to help them. They lost 3 out of their 4 D linemen on defense. So bad defense might get even worse. We'll see. I have them at 6-6 and 3-5, 3-5 in the SEC. I do have them losing a Pitt, LSU, Bama, Georgia, Kentucky, and South Carolina. So I'm not as high on Tennessee as you are, TJ.
Yeah.
Then Vandy, I have 0-8.
Ooh.
0-8 in the SEC, and then
Yeah.
so. But did I miss anybody? I think that was it. So
Georgia, that was it. All right. So one thing I've noticed, especially with Tennessee and a lot of other, East schools, especially, Georgia is the only team with a good defense.
Seriously.
I mean, Florida, historically has been arguably DBU historically. Not now, but like the past 4 years, we've sucked because Mullen, and Todd Grantham was garbage over there in DC land. But Tennessee has not had a good defense since since Phil Fulmer was there.
And I think you see it with these coaches that go up tempo, up tempo, up tempo. Like rarely do you see a defense that is lights out when the team is constantly running 80, 90, 100 plays because they're on and off the field so quick. Their defenses are on the field a lot. Look at Lane Kiffin. It's the same is true for Ole Miss. Like you look at their stats from last year, their offense was okay, but their defense struggles. I mean, so it's hard you better outscore people is the bottom line. Outscore people.
And I'm surprised, I'm surprised Ole Miss's defense last year was as good as it was. I remember the Sugar Bowl last year with Baylor. I mean, that was like a 3-3 game, halfway through. So, you manage, but it's just a matter of outscoring people. And trust me, I love the fun and gun. The fun and gun offense is my favorite. Everyone likes it. Alabama 2020, Florida 2020. That was all, we're going to throw the ball down the field. But
better keep your quarterback healthy, though.
Yeah, tell me about it. All right, so let's go on to Noah Natty.
All right, so starting with Florida, I have Florida going 7-5 this year. I've been losing to Utah, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, A&M. I don't know. One good thing about Florida is that they're returning Anthony Richardson, Trent Whittemore. Whittemore was probably their best receiver last year. He was good. Anthony Richardson, we'll see how he does. I have questions about Florida's defense because, I don't know, their recruiting and defense has been suspect the past couple of years. But honestly, for a first-year coach in the SEC, like 7-5, that's honestly pretty good. And then, let's see, Georgia. I have Georgia going 12-0, winning the East, just running the table basically. They're returning Stetson Bennett, Brock Bowers, which their offense, I think, honestly should be better next year than they were last year, but their defense is just going to be nowhere near as good. So I have them losing SEC championship against Alabama. Am I a homer? Yes.
Yeah, you are. Question for you.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on the running back situation? Because that was one thing that I had a question mark about with
that's true. I mean,
those guys. I mean, obviously they've recruited.
Yeah, they've recruited well, running backs consistently. So, I mean, they won't be as good because they had Cook, Zamir White last year. They were both solid running backs, and they had them both, playing in tandem. But I don't know. Georgia always reloads pretty much every year. So
yeah. I mean, what's your take on Stetson Bennett, returning? Because I mean, I've obviously watched him play, but I really don't understand all the hype. I mean, I've seen much better QBs at Georgia. I mean, Jake Fromm was 10 times as better as Stetson. But I think just because he led them to a national championship, he's getting, overhyped. And even still, there was so much quarterback controversy last year. No one even remembers that. Like they were all on the, we want JT Daniels bus, and then the dude packed up and left for West Virginia.
Yeah.
So it's like
my opinion on Stetson Bennett is that he progressed, but he's still, like I said in my prediction for Mississippi State, he's still got those chinks where sometimes you're like, what is he doing? Like he tries to do too much.
Yeah.
He tries to. Now I felt like he played much like national championship game, like played well. It's one of those like, hey, dude was lights out, but does he still have the ability to have those games where he's going to cost Georgia the game? That would be my question.
Yeah, I think Stetson Bennett is heavily overrated. I have been anti-mailman since basically his first season where he played. Jake Fromm was a lot better than him. But, I mean, he had George Pickens last year, Brock Bowers last year. Pretty much anyone could have won a national championship with that roster, that defense. But,
Yeah.
I mean, who else is going to compete against Georgia this year? I mean, maybe Tennessee, but I'm not sure. And then Kentucky's up. I actually have them going 9-3 this year. I have them having a good year. I have them losing to Ole Miss at home, and then losing to Tennessee and losing to Georgia. 5-3 SEC. So I think they'll have a pretty good year, honestly. I mean, they lost their best receiver last year, I think, but I don't know. I think they'll have a solid year. Missouri's up next. I have them going 4-8. I'm not high on Missouri. I'm not high on Eli Drinkwitz either. I have them losing to Kansas State, Auburn, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Arkansas. I don't know. Their quarterback situation is interesting because don't they have a transfer coming in, I think?
I don't think Missouri did. I think they're actually probably what you saw was the only one that pretty much doesn't have a transfer come in.
Yeah.
Unless there was something later, recently that I missed. But I saw something where there were 7 of the 14 SEC teams have a transfer coming in that's possibly going to start for them this year.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, surprisingly, Luther Burden III, wide receiver, 5-star in the 2022 class, which is that's a little ridiculous. Why would you go to Missouri if you're a 5-star wide receiver? You could have gone anywhere else. Like, I'm just curious, like, how many offers did this guy get? And the man's
Missouri probably.
I guess. Do they even have that? Like, I don't even. Number 3 national player. Like that's crazy. I mean, the rest of their guys, 809, 795, 144, all in the hundreds. This kid is ranked 1,459. The 1,459th ranked player in the nation, and they got a 5-star number 3 ranked player. So that's crazy. I'm interested to see how he'll do. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he transferred. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. Continue.
All right. Tennessee's up next. I have them going 10-2 this year. I went from having them going 8-4 to 10-2 in like 20 minutes. I had them losing to Alabama, Georgia. I originally had them losing to Pitt and South Carolina additionally. But, I mean, yeah, they run that up-tempo offense. I think Georgia and Alabama, those games will be close, but, like, their defense is just so bad. There's going to be no way. Like, if one of them gets the upper hand slightly, like, it's going to go downhill quick. Just like last year, third Saturday in October, it was close, but then one drive, I think Tennessee didn't score, and then it was just like 3 touchdown win for Alabama. So I have a good year for Tennessee. South Carolina, I think honestly they'll be better this year, but I have them going 5-7. I have them losing to Arkansas, Georgia, Kentucky, A&M, Florida, Tennessee, and Clemson. Like I said, they'll have as a team they'll be better, but just like the record won't show. And South Carolina is honestly an underrated home field advantage, I think. But I just don't have them doing that good this year, record wise. And then Vanderbilt 3-9. I mean, when it comes to a point when Hawaii is a swing game, it's like your program's in the toaster. So yeah, 3-9, 0-8 SEC. That's my SEC prediction.
And we are back. We will now be heading to the SEC West. We're going to start it off with LSU. I have them going 7-5. Everyone is so high on LSU. I'm not, a huge Brian Kelly hyper. I think they're going to be fine in the next couple years, but just from what I've seen in the past couple seasons, I think it's going to be a pretty mediocre season. I have them losing to Tennessee, Florida, Ole Miss, Bama, and Texas A&M at the end of the season. Hopefully that Texas A&M game will be interesting. I'm still hoping for like a 2019 repeat where it was like 7 overtimes, which I stayed up for that whole game. That was a great game. I loved it. Next, I have Mississippi State. I have them going 4-8. I mean, they're such a toss-up team.
No fade.
Hey, they're such a toss-up team for me because like somehow it's like Texas Tech. Like Texas Tech always finds a way to go 8-4 every season, and no one ever talks about them. Like it's like the most mediocre team to ever exist. So the Cowbells, they'll be a factor, guaranteed. But a lot of these games I have as toss-ups. I mean, versus Auburn at Mississippi State, I can easily see them winning. But, I mean, at the same time, Auburn, they can come back. I mean, it's just such a big toss-up game,
But let me interject real quick. But one thing we do know is that Mike Leach is going to be undefeated in post-game press conferences.
Yeah, seriously.
It's true.
No one beats him. No one beats him. That's the thing that we're looking forward to most this season. Mike Leach press conferences. What'll he come up with next?
What is Mike Leach gonna do this year?
Yeah, that's our new segment on the show.
Already started off with a bang with the SEC Media Days.
Oh yeah, he said seven words. Yeah, like any questions? I mean LSU. That's Mississippi State. LSU is like pretty consistently a great matchup. I mean they, especially this year when they're both going to be pretty mediocre. I think. Probably not Kentucky. Definitely a loss to Alabama. Definitely a loss to Georgia. Most likely a loss to Ole Miss, I think. And then on to Ole Miss. Speaking of, I think the Rebs are going to go 9-3. I think they're going to. I'm not sure how much production they're returning, but they got new quarterbacks in Jackson Dart and Altmaier, who we were talking about earlier. But I mean, I think they're going to have a great, high-speed offense. I think Kiffin is going to keep using that same formula and adapt his team to that. Defensive production, I haven't heard anything special. So I think it's going to be a pretty strong season, but similar to last year. Probably closing, 10-3 or 9-3, 9-4, pending on a bowl game. And on to Texas A&M, the number 1 recruiting class. Who could have thunk it? Speaking of teams who, seemingly go 8-4 every season, the Aggies.
That matter.
Yeah, but I mean, I have them going 10-2. I think they're going to be pretty good. But as I say, a lot of these, and I think we can say it for every team, these games are toss-ups, especially with how good the SEC is, pretty consistently. September 17th, week 3, they have a game against Miami at home. And we'll get into this in our SEC or in our ACC segment at some point. But I really think Miami's, going to be an up-and-comer. And I think they'll play Texas A&M close, but I think A&M's going to, go away with that game. I think they're going to want revenge against Arkansas from last year. I think they're going to pull away with that one. Close. But and then a loss at Bama. Bama's going to be angry. That's at Bama this year. So, it's going to be harder to, pull that second year upset. And then an upset loss at Ole Miss, I think. I kind of put that one in there just because I didn't want to put them at 11-1, because I do not think they're going to go 11-1 like that. I just don't think that's going to happen, even with the number 1 recruiting class. Prove it on the field, everyone. Prove it on the field. And that concludes that section of the SEC East or West. But Bama, I got 12-0. I really don't think there's a lot to be said. Everyone's going to be angry from something. Alabama always has a good season, and Alabama is always angry about having a good season. And you can't contradict me about that, because you guys went like 11-1 last year, and you still are angry about it. I would be happy just to win 10 games, but,
It was a down year last year. It was a rebuilding year. So.
Oh, yeah.
It was a rebuilding year.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, contact me when you guys go 6-6. That's all I'll say. And you can contact me when you go 4-8 like Navy does every year. So.
Wait a second.
Hey, I'm just as big of a Navy fan as you are, so I'm just calling it how it is. Arkansas, I got at 9-3. A lot of 9-3 teams: Tennessee, Ole Miss, possibly Texas A&M, Arkansas.
Because their non-conference schedule is soft.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Well, who do they have?
All the SEC. I'm saying all the SEC.
Oh, yeah.
1AA. Yes.
Oh, hey, but not so fast, my friend. Cincinnati, week 1.
And I have that as a loss.
Close game. Close.
Okay, Lee Corso.
And then Missouri State. Who are they? BYU. Probably closer than we would think, but I don't like BYU because they think they're good every year, and they're not. So stop thinking that Zach Wilson is still your quarterback, because he's not. And Liberty, that's easy. But I got losses to Alabama, LSU, and Ole Miss. I think that'll be an upset win for LSU. Probably much needed, considering where they might be next season. Finally, Auburn. Much awaited Auburn. I got them going 5-7. A much disappointing season from the Auburn Tigers, with losses to Penn State, LSU, Georgia, Ole Miss, Arkansas, A&M, and Alabama. And I really do think all those are pretty believable. I can see them losing to all those teams, but I can see them, pulling an upset against LSU, maybe Arkansas, probably not Ole Miss, I don't think. But Auburn sometimes has a tendency to be, sneaky at some points in the season. I think the Georgia loss is pretty inevitable. But hey, anything can happen. Any given Saturday.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. Mercer, first game of the season. It's not San Jose State. Those are kind of Western Kentucky.
That's my point. Look at the SEC non-conference schedule, and it's not strong.
Yeah, I mean, if Western Kentucky still had Bailey Zappi, then maybe Western Kentucky could win. So, anyways, that concludes my SEC West or all SEC predictions. I got Georgia and Alabama in the SEC championship. No, surprises there. I got Alabama winning it. Same as it is every year until Nick Saban retires, or dies while on the field. As it would probably go. So, all right, we'll turn it over to. Let's hear Noah's first. We'll do Noah's this time.
Right. I'm going to start with my Alabama Crimson Tide.
Oh, yeah. You got to get that out.
I have them going 12-0. I mean, homer pick, but also just stacked team. They lost Jamison Williams and John Mechie, but they also brought in Jermaine Burton from Georgia, which is great pickup, honestly.
And Jahmyr Gibbs.
Bryce Young.
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Jahmyr Gibbs, too.
From Georgia Tech.
I was shocked to see, I mean, not shocked, but shocked to see just because of the depth that Alabama has that he's listed as a starter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a phenomenal player.
Oh, yeah. Great receiving back. But, I mean, Bryce Young is coming back. Will Anderson, my personal favorite player. 12-0 SEC West champions. I don't really think that's a surprise. Next, I have just the worst team in the whole conference, Auburn. I have that actually going 6-6 this year, which is very sad. I love to put them at 0-12, but I can't. I have them losing to Penn State, LSU, Georgia, Ole Miss, Auburn, Texas A&M, and losing to Alabama. I have them actually beating Arkansas this year, just because Arkansas has to go on like 3 games straight on the road. That's just going to be they're just going to be wiped out after that. So Auburn going 6-6, probably Liberty Bowl appearance again from them.
Birmingham Bowl.
Birmingham Bowl. Seriously.
Isn't that where they were last year, though? I thought, wasn't that the Birmingham versus Houston? Yeah. That was like a last-minute play by Houston, too.
Yeah.
I remember that. That's depressing.
Next up, I have LSU. I have them going to 7-5. I have them at 8-4. And then 2 minutes into doing the podcast, I realized they're probably going to lose to Florida, so I just put them at 7-5.
That's right.
I have them losing to Tennessee, Florida, Arkansas, A&M, Alabama. I have them going 7-5. I mean, I don't really know who their quarterback's going to be. Is it going to be Miles Brennan, Jane Daniels? I'm not sure, but yeah, I think they'll be all right. I mean, Brian Kelly is just inheriting such a bad situation that Orgeron left him in last year.
Yeah,
so it might take a while for them to get back to where they were.
I mean, it's full of talent.
Yeah,
but discipline, as has been a theme in the SEC. Discipline is the key. But hey, Florida, we're looking for revenge. We've lost to LSU 4 years in a row. 2019, 2020, and last year. I guess that's 3, but still.
Changes this year.
That's too many times.
LSU.
We're looking for a big victory in the swamp. The swamp is going to be packed. We've sold more season tickets than in the past 4 years for Florida. It's going to be packed all season.
Yeah, practically you don't have Dan Mullen the Clown as your coach anymore.
Yeah, okay. I will not comment. I'll ignore that.
I have Arkansas up next. I have them going 10-2 this year, which I have them losing to Alabama. I have them losing to Auburn, which might be surprising, but 3 road games in a row. And then I have Arkansas having a good season. I've always liked Sam Pittman a lot. I don't know why. I've just always gravitated towards him. So I always have them having a good season. A&M is up next. I have them going 10-2 as well, with losses to Alabama and South Carolina. Similar to Arkansas, where they just have 3 games straight on the road. They're just going to be wiped out, and they're just going to be done. And they're going to blunder one and lose to South Carolina. And then Mississippi State is up next. I have them going 5-7 with losses to A&M, Arkansas, Kentucky, Alabama, Auburn, and Georgia. I have them winning in the Egg Bowl because they're going to be this season doesn't matter anymore. Might as well just try to ruin Ole Miss's. So I have them going 5-7. I have Ole Miss, flip side of it, 7-5. With them losing to LSU, A&M, Alabama, Arkansas, and then Mississippi State. Because I don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be. I'm not super high on either of their picks, Altmaier or Dart. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on SEC West.
Yeah, I think I'm a kind of polar opposite to you guys in a couple of different ways, but the one that's going to stay true is the Alabama. I have them undefeated this year. Very rare that I pick teams to go undefeated because of how hard it is. But if last year was a rebuilding year, then they're going to go undefeated this year. Saban's only lost 25 games in 15 years at Alabama, and it's unbelievable. He does not average losing 2 games a year. It's less than that. So that's amazing. So they're undefeated. They're your SEC West champs. Next team I'll talk about, I'm just going in the order of rankings from last year. Ole Miss. They last year 10 wins in the regular season was the first time they'd ever done that in school history, which surprises me.
Yeah, wow.
But Lane Kiffin's Lane Kiffin. He kind of flies by the seat of his pants, which I think this team's going to reflect that this year with all the transfers that he had come in. I still think they're going to be good. Not quite a 10-win regular season team. I have them at 9-3. I have them losing to A&M and Mississippi State, actually, in the Egg Bowl. Last year, Ole Miss beat them on their turf. I think this year, last year, yeah, that's right. Ole Miss won at home, I think, and this year I think Mississippi State's gonna get it done. Arkansas, the boss hog, Sam Pittman, right? How can you not like Sam Pittman? Right, the guy is. What's he say? Yeah, sir. What'd you say?
He always, after every win, he says, "Turn that jukebox on."
So, I mean, I know the guys love playing for them. Last year, 9-4. They got their quarterback back, and one of their linebackers got to have one of the best names in college football, Bumper Pool.
Oh, yeah.
Pool, right? So, but unlike you guys, I'm not giving them a great year. I have them at 6-6.
Oh, wow.
I have them losing to Cincinnati to open the season. I have them
Really?
I have them losing a tough one at Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri, one of their few SEC wins, and then Ole Miss as well. Those are just 3 of the ones I have them dropping. Obviously, a couple more in the league. I think they take a step back this year. Mississippi State. Okay, I'm a little higher on them than you guys are. I have them at 7-5. Like I mentioned earlier, I think they get the upset of Georgia in November. But I have LSU beating them, A&M beating them, Kentucky beating them, and Auburn beating them as well. But that Georgia win is going to really set their season on fire at the end, as much as a 7-5 season can be on fire. And then I really think they're going to beat Ole Miss this year as well. A&M, 9-3, pretty close to I think where you guys projected them. They're classic underachievers in my opinion. Like we said, great recruiting class last year. It's probably not going to pay off right away, if it does at all. Quarterback transferred out, got the guy from LSU, Max Johnson. I really like Max Johnson. I think he's a good player. He's a tough kid. Obviously, he comes from an NFL family. But new DC, is the defense going to be good? New DC, DJ Durkin, yeah, he's had really good teams, really good defenses place he's been. But are they going to be able to have a good enough defense to really hold the line inside and out every single week? But 9-3, not championship level to me, but a good year. Auburn, who knows what happens to Brian Harsin after this year? I got him at 6-6 and 2-6 in the league. He's probably gone, honestly, after that. My question is, where's the leadership? Who's the leader? All the things that went on in the offseason with the questions about his leadership specifically, Bo Nix transfers. I happen to know Bo Nix family personally. Bo Nix is a first-class individual, great leader. He's out of the door, right? So now who's their quarterback going to be? It's Zach Calzada, right, from A&M, I believe. Who knows what he can do for him? But that'd be my question, not just from a quarterback perspective, but across the board. Who's going to step up and lead this team with as much chaos as that's going around in the program? It's going to be hard to overcome that, I think.
Yeah.
Then LSU, my man, Ryan Kelly. Yeah, we all know he cannot dance, right? And he said, I guess when a 5-star recruit asks you to dance, you dance. Well, please don't next time, Brian. That was hurting all of our eyes. But I really think that he's got a chance to have a decent year. 9-3 is what I put him at. I got him beating Florida, A&M, losses to Ole Miss, Alabama, and Arkansas. But I mean, the guy's won everywhere he's been, like him or not. Like, he's 284 wins in 31 years plus years as a college football head coach. So I don't know that's a great fit, but I know the guy knows football and his teams play well. He has Notre Dame playing well. He was a great coach at Cincinnati, Central Michigan, on down the line. So I think if he can master the recruiting, which honestly it seems like he's doing a pretty good job, even though he's kind of quirky, he'll be fine at LSU. And I think he's gonna give others in the SEC West a run for their money. So a lot of people don't like him. I mean, he's got a fake country accent, whatever, Cajun accent, him and his family. But if he can get past and keep his, head down and not make too many stupid mistakes, I think they'll be okay. Again, Bama, SEC West champs, Georgia, SEC champs, East, Bama wins the SEC.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that we can all agree on. I mean, it's not – I don't know. It's always Georgia and Alabama. I think it's just so far – like, it's come so far down, to that. Like, that's been going on for however many years, since 2009, 2010, that it's hard to undo that. And that's – a lot of it boils down to recruiting, which phenomenal segue. Thank you. Nice phenomenal segue into our next topic, which is winners and losers of recruiting. As we near the brand new 2022-23 season, the new recruiting cycle is in full swing. And we're just here to point out some of our winners and losers from the cycle so far. The cycle is most definitely not over. There's a lot of games to be played. I mean, recruits visiting games all through this season and, all the way until the end of the season. So people can flip commits just like that. But I really haven't noticed a whole lot of flipping, which is good. I mean, I think people need to, stick to what they're going to be and hold to it. But just some winners and losers from recruiting so far. I guess I can go ahead and start. My winners for recruiting, I got Texas. Texas at number 1 for the winners. I mean, they got Arch Manning, number 1 recruit in the nation. I mean, he's from the Manning bloodline, so I don't expect anything but greatness from him. Only the season will tell. I'm finally getting to see him play. I thought to myself, like, it's so cool that I get to see an actual great quarterback play in my lifetime, who's only like 2 years older than I am. That's kind of crazy to think about,
It doesn't surprise me that you have Texas as one of your winners, because I know you're such a big Sark fan. So.
You keep saying that. I just like the offensive scheme. Everyone likes the offensive scheme of Steve Sarkisian. Well, except last year when they lost to Kansas in overtime. Cedric Baxter, just flipped him from Florida. He was this close to committing to Florida, and he flipped last minute. He was on Alabama's watch list too. Noah and I kept close tabs on him. And same with Peyton Kirkland. He was favored to commit to Florida, and then last minute he went to Texas. Currently, they're number 3 in the nation, which that's like unheard of for the past couple of years. Is Texas back? I don't think so. I do not think so. It's currently in a rebuilding stage. But will they be back? Maybe. I don't know. I think they're going to be definitely better than they have been in the past. But I don't think they're back yet. I also got Miami. Francis Mauigan from Hawaii, 5-star.
Oh, yeah.
I watched that commitment, and that was very depressing because I'm like, why would you go to Miami? But they're currently sitting at number 9, which, I mean, compared to how they have been, it's pretty darn good. And I really think Mario Cristobal is going to be building a solid program down there. They also flipped Jaden Rashada from the University of Florida and Malik Bryant from the University of Florida. All these guys are flipping, from Florida and going to Miami. And then at number 13, I got USC. number 13 recruiting class in the country. Malachi Nelson is my biggest takeaway from that, the 5-star quarterback. I really think he's going to be a great player on top of Caleb Wilson from Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley coming in as the new head coach. I think it's going to be a good team. I don't think it's going to be right away, unlike other people say. People say they're going to go 10-2, 11-1. I don't think I'm as high on them. I think 8-4, 9-3 is a good number for them. But I think they're going to, start getting pretty good. My losers, I got Texas A&M, which is number 47 in the country. That is one spot above Vanderbilt, everyone. One spot above Vanderbilt. That is exactly what Florida's situation was this past cycle. They were all the way down. But currently, we are number 10. We have broken the top 10. The University of Florida has broken the top 10 in recruiting because we've been on a hot streak. Like the past 24 hours, we got 3 recruits, which is phenomenal. And one guy who just committed in the 2024 class. So A&M is sitting at number 47. Only 1 5-star recruit, 5 4-stars, and 3 3-stars. Like that's pretty atrocious, coming off that season. But maybe their season this year will sway recruits, possibly.
Money ran out, man.
Yeah, the money
ran out. Sliced bread. He was on to him.
Sliced bread. Wisconsin, I got them as a loser. They've historically always been very, very good. They're number 50 in the recruiting cycle. The only recruits they have are 13 3-stars. That's all they got. And that was very surprising to me when I looked at those numbers. Another one is Utah. They're sitting at 49, 3 4-stars and 9 3-stars. So coming up quite short of where their projected record is for this season. So who else do you guys got for those?
I would agree with you on some of those. Texas, Miami as winners, and then A&M as well as losers. I mean, that you go from number 1 to 47. We still have a lot of time left, but they're not going to be number 1 again. As far as my individual winners added on to that, Notre Dame. I mean, Marcus Freeman has come in and really established himself as a force. And the last I saw, they were number 2 in the country in recruiting. And, if that can keep up, Notre Dame's going to be, they'll have a chance in the future to be very consistent and maybe be one of those playoff contenders every year. LSU, I got to say LSU, even though LSU should recruit well, to me, they're recruiting well despite all the bad negative publicity from Goofy Brian Kelly on TikTok and all that. So got to give hats off to him. The guy's coming from Notre Dame, coming down to definitely a different culture, recruiting different type of kids, and he's still having success doing it. So I'd say he's winning right now. Florida. I mean, Florida has made such a push lately that they're a winner to me. Napier's is on a hot streak. And then a couple more: Baylor, Texas Tech, and South Carolina, all inside the top 20. Baylor, you guys mentioned Texas Tech earlier, but Joey McGuire, Baylor, Dave Aranda, and then Shane Beamer all doing with a lot of energy to get those kids to come. So can't lose that. And as far as my losers, Auburn, 64th in the country. Things are going the wrong direction. Ole Miss, 58th. Now, with that, Lane Kiffin's a transfer guy, right? So who knows what he's up to? He's probably going to bring in 25 transfers next year. So I don't really, but per the high school recruits right now, I'm saying he's one of the losers. And then Mizzou, 66th in the country. Again, same situation as I see at Auburn. That thing's just going in the wrong direction from a recruiting standpoint right now.
All right. I think we got one more.
Yeah. For my winners, I have Tennessee. Their average recruit grade per individual is 90.7, which is really good. They got the Nico kid from California, who is very good. I mean, they may have paid $10 million to get him, but
and a mustard bottle. $10 million and a mustard bottle.
Yeah, put it in a McDonald's to go bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. that's a good cycle for them. They're number 12 overall on 24/7 currently. Next up, I have Oklahoma. They're sitting at number 7 right now. Their average player is 91.93 per individual. They got Jackson Arnold. He's a 5-star quarterback. He was actually won the Elite 11 competition, which is very impressive. Just like the amount of quarterbacks he went up against, and he could actually win that. And Brent Venables, defensive guy, and he can just recruit all these offensive players very well. It's impressive. And I also have the Florida Gators on there. I get a lot of Florida recruiting information from TJ, so I see pretty much all their recruits. But I mean, they've been doing very well this cycle. I mean, they got that running back from Jacksonville, which, yeah, he's gonna be good. They got that QB commit, so I'm excited about them. I think they're gonna be good.
Trevor
for the East next couple of years.
Trevor Etienne. Travis Etienne's brother. He's fast. If he's anything like Travis Etienne, as I saw on the preseason game from the Jaguars, that dude is speedy. He's speedy. It's going to be great.
Yeah. And then for my losers, I have the Florida State Seminoles. I mean, Florida and Miami are just recruiting state of Florida very good right now. And Florida State sitting at 26. I mean, that's just like unacceptable, honestly. Just for such a storied program to be that low.
Yeah, definitely.
I have another ACC team, North Carolina. They're at 28. They have Mac Brown, who is a national championship winning coach. Who, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty early, but still, 28 seems a little low. And then Nebraska Cornhuskers are next. I mean, they disappoint every year somehow. And yeah, I mean, they're sitting at 41 right now. Like, same at FSU. It's such a storied program. Like, how are they that low? How are they not convincing more kids to go there? 2 4-stars, 11 3-stars. So, yeah. So those are my winners and losers for recruiting.
Think about it too. Like, if you think about a lot of the people that we've said are losers or winners, a lot of them are new hires in the winners category, right? Come in with a lot of energy. A lot of the losers are coaches that they don't know if they're going to be there, right? So it makes sense in the grand scheme that some of these programs with the coaches on the hot seat, I wouldn't go there if I were a recruit, if I didn't know he was going to be there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we will take a short break and we will be back with our final thoughts and comments about NIL and the future of college football.
Welcome back. We are to the final word, and today we're going to talk about that hot topic that seems like has dominated the college football world in the last, 8, 12, I don't know how long it's been. It feels like it's been forever that everybody's been talking about it. But NIL, name and image likeness. Okay, so this is basically allows the players now to get paid for people using their image to promote the brand. My thoughts on it, I think it's a good thing. I think that let me rephrase it. I think it's a good thing within reason. I think that if a university benefits off of a player, whether it's selling their jersey, using their picture, tickets to games for people to come watch them, that the player should be getting some kind of a cut. I do not think that it should be included in, and I don't think it's legal to do this, but people are using it that way to entice recruits to come to the school, was saying, hey, we'll have a deal for you when you get here. That is, I think a lot of coaches agree too, that that's not the intent of what it was made for. So yes, good players get paid for things that they probably should have been paid for in the past. Bad when it's clouding recruiting and making everything really shady. Recruiting's always been shady, but now it's almost legalized shadiness. So yeah, I think players deserve it. They put in a lot of work. I mean, if somebody wants to pay them to use their image, great. NCAA has had an iron fist for that stuff for a long time, and I think it's good they're not able to do that anymore. So if it benefits the players in the right way, I'm all for it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just crazy because like it's been so blown out of proportion now. As you said, with all the recruiting stuff. Um, and from what I've heard, being inside, the Florida area, a lot of what Napier is doing is trying to work for the players' benefit and say, okay, how can we find a way to use this to our advantage and not distract players from actually, playing? Because once all this NIL stuff got blown out of proportion, and not to mention transfer portal, free agent, whatever nonsense. I heard they were coming out with like a new rule where you can like transfer, like you have unlimited transfers or something. That's what I heard.
I think it might be in the works. Yeah.
Yeah, which is that's kind of crazy to me. Which, I mean, I do understand. Like, I think you should be able to, transfer, but if you haven't even given the college a shot yet, it's kind of lame because like you can see like a 1 year starter or a 1 year player who's been working under as a secondary player or something, and he's leaving the college after 1 year because he didn't get to start. He doesn't really get the opportunity to work himself up. Because he might start at another college, but he doesn't get the learning opportunity of working and that work ethic of trying to work his way up the ladder. But no, yeah, I do think the players should get compensation because they put in a lot of work. But it's one step closer to pro ball than I'd like it to be. There's a difference between college and NFL, and that's what's made it so special. We have the pro ball, which is like, oh, these people don't, they don't have a bond to the team per se. They're not stuck to the team or have any affiliation with it in any way other than they play for it. But in college, there's like I have learned at this institute for 4 years, sometimes more. So there's a big bond that you get with the university. Like I'm definitely a bigger Florida fan than I am a Jags fan, just because there's so much tradition and pride from a college team. So yeah, I hope it'll get controlled at some point. I hope the NCAA cracks down a little bit on recruiting, and using that for recruiting benefits. And just having a better way for the players to use it to their advantage so it doesn't detract from playing. And like the bowl game stuff, like bowls don't matter anymore because you can just leave for the NFL. It's just, I hope the mindset gets educated more a little bit. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. NIL is just something else at this point. I mean, Texas A&M, like their recruiting class, they say they didn't buy anything. We all know, like, you can't get be number 6 in the country and then be number 1 in recruiting the next year, like just out of thin air. Like, that's not how that works. Honestly though, like, I'm a fan of NIL. Like you said earlier, like if it helps the players, like buying a jersey in a store, like that'll just go to them as players is good. So kind of the same thoughts, but transfer portal, I don't know, because in my opinion, NIL affects the transfer portal a lot. Like Texas A&M, like they bought all those players. Like some of them, they don't even know like what the locker room is going to be like, how they're going to fit. So they might be like, hey, I'm not going to like it here. So they're going to therefore transfer, which makes the transfer portal more busy, which is not always a good thing. So I don't know, kind of just the same thoughts, honestly.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. It's just trying to get I think they created a monster. So.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thanks for joining us today. And if you wouldn't mind checking us out on Instagram at Eat More Football, and then our email, if you have any questions that you want us to address on any of our shows, eatmorefb@gmail.com. So our Instagram at Eat More Football, and our Gmail, eatmorefb@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.